Imagination, that thing we often dismiss as mere daydreaming, might actually be the most powerful force shaping our reality. Recent neuroscience research shows that the brain can't actually tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
That's fascinating. And it reminds me of something I witnessed recently at this local coffee shop. There was this woman who came in every morning, spending hours writing in her journal. And she later revealed she had been visualizing running her own bakery. 6 months later, she actually opened one.
You know what's really interesting about that story? It perfectly demonstrates what neuroscientists call mental rehearsal. Studies show that people who vividly imagine practicing a skill actually improve almost as much as those doing physical practice. The brain literally creates new neural pathways just through imagination.
Well, that certainly challenged everything we've been taught about success, requiring just hard work and practical planning. How does this actually work in the brain?
So here's the wild part. When researchers did fMRI scans of people imagining an activity, they found that the same areas of the brain lit up as when they were actually doing it. And get this, Olympic athletes who use visualization techniques show up to 45% improvement in performance compared to those who don't.
That's incredible. Though I imagine there must be more to it than just sitting around daydreaming about what we want.
Exactly right. And this brings us to one of the most powerful concepts we're exploring today, the idea of living in the end. It's not just about visualizing success, but actually experiencing the emotions and sensations as if it's already happened. Think about it like this. When you're planning a vacation, you don't just think about it, you feel the excitement, imagine the smell of the ocean, picture yourself there.
So it's really about engaging all our senses in this process, creating a full sensory experience in our minds.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is how this connects to the concept of neuroplasticity. Every time we engage in this kind of deep imaginative practice, we are literally rewiring our brains. Studies show that consistent visualization practice can increase neural density by up to 30% in relevant areas of the brain.
That makes me think about how this might apply to fields like medicine and therapy. Are there practical applications being used already?
Oh, absolutely there are. Take chronic pain management, for example. Research from Stanford Medical School shows that patients who use guided imagery techniques report up to 40% reduction in pain levels. And in sports medicine, visualization is now a standard part of rehabilitation programs.
You know what's really interesting about all this? It seems to bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science. Many spiritual traditions have been teaching these principles for thousands of years.
That's such a great observation. And it brings us to another fascinating aspect, the concept of revision. This isn't just about imagining the future, but actually rewriting how we perceive past experiences. The psychological impact of this practice is profound.
Hmm, could you give us a specific example of how that works?
Well, let's say someone had a difficult public speaking experience in college. Instead of letting that memory create anxiety, they can consciously revise it, reimagining it as a success. Studies show this technique can actually alter the emotional charge of memories and reduce anxiety responses by up to 70%.
That's remarkable, though I imagine it takes some practice to master these techniques.
It definitely does. And that's where the concept of spiritual sensation comes in. It's about developing what neuroscientists call embodied cognition, where your whole nervous system participates in the imaginative process. Recent research shows that this kind of full body engagement can accelerate manifestation of goals by up to 300%.
This reminds me of something I read about professional athletes. They don't just visualize winning, they feel every muscle movement, hear the crowd, smell the environment. It's incredibly detailed.
Exactly. And the results are measurable. A study with basketball players showed that those who combined physical practice with visualization improved their free throw accuracy by 23% more than those who only practiced physically.